Toyota 1000 Desert Race has had a habit in recent years of producing final lap dramatics, and this year was to be no different. With a big lead in the production vehicle category, the Castrol Toyota Hilux of Anthony Taylor and Chris Birkin looked set to break the Toyota victory drought. It was a lot tighter in the special vehicle category, where 2007 winners Cully and Quinton Silwald had edged ahead of the Motor White Revo of Evan Hutchison and Danny Stassen at the DSP. There were now 7 seconds between the Elegant Fuel Bat and the Motor White Revo, which represented the biggest gap between the two cars in 2 days. The Team Ford Ranger of Chris Visser and Jaapie Badenhorst was now nearly 15 minutes behind the Toyota, and it looked as though they would have to settle for second place for the second year running.
The Atlas Copco bat of Johan van Staden and James Rousseau was 15 minutes behind the leaders, but they were now more than 2 minutes clear of Shamia Variawa and Siegfried Rousseau, with a dream of 4 desert race wins in a row now out of sight for the Varigo bat pair. Variawa, a former South African champion, had also suffered from migraine attacks, which had not exactly helped their cause.
Podium place looked to be on the cards for the Micaren XL Toyota Hilux, with Hugo and Jaap de Bruin returning to the off-road fold this year after a lengthy sabbatical. A local resident thought off-road racing was for the birds, while Archie Rutherford and Mike Lawrenson continued to control Class P. It had been an impressive performance by the Regent Racing pair, who were on track for a top 5 finish. Behind them, veterans Jannie Visser and Yorks Leroux were on the fringes of a podium placing, while the Atlas Copco bat of Richard Fuller and Jeff Minnett had maintained a steady pace, but was now 37 seconds adrift of Archie Rutherford and Mike Lawrenson.
The Fuller Minute bat was being chased by Brett Parker and Andrew van Zyl, who was deputising for Parker's brother Steve, who had not yet fully recovered from an illness contracted after cutting his leg on the Atlas Copco 400. Terence Marsh and George Swarberger had dropped back to 5th in the production vehicle category, with the race taking a dramatic turn for Christian de Plooy and Henk Janssen van Vieren when they hit a tree.
The tree that jumped in front of the RFS BMW damaged the front suspension, and de Plooy and Janssen van Vieren were forced to stop a little further on to remove bits of damaged fender and bumper caught under the car. While they were at a standstill, the Cobalt Racing Porter of Jimmy Zahas and Stefan Coetzee eased past the BMW.
Not far down the road, it was a case of tit for tat, with the BMW going ahead of the Porter, which had now stopped.
Well, we didn't have power steering, and now one of our pads disintegrated. So the whole pad's busted, so we can't carry on. We've got no brakes.
After some hasty repair work by Coetzee, the Cobalt Racing pair were able to continue with some words of encouragement from KwaZulu-Natal crew Clint Gibson and Gary Campbell, who were Donaldson prologue casualties.
A little further back in the field, Malcolm Koch and Johan Burger continued to make good progress, with championship leaders Thomas Rundle and Joan Moore still going like their clappers in the Baden Tyre Services Nissan Navara in an effort to salvage invaluable championship points. Rundle and Moore, a former South African champion and Toyota 1000 Desert Race winner, had thrown caution to the winds and were now belting along at full pace.
Salvaging points had also become an issue for Herman and Richard Silwald, who arrived in Botswana as joint leaders in the Special Vehicle Championship. The Silwald Racing SVR was now under threat from Jacques Wheeler and Philip Hasselman, who were going along nicely in the Orange Works bat. Young children and the law were very much in evidence all along the route, and with their fuel starvation problems looking to have been finally sorted out, Duncan Force and Rob Howie could finally travel at maximum velocity in the second Team Castrol Toyota Hilux. They had quickly caught Botswana pair Osman Sadiq and Kasim Dada, who were moving closer to their goal of making it to the finish.
The White Star Racing bat in the hands of the Botswana-Lesotho combination of Keith du Toit and Ashley Thorne had also moved through the field after rejoining the race, while brothers Keith and Andrew Maganete were still running ahead of the father-daughter combination of Coetzee and Sandra Labuskaghni in Class B.
All along the route, Toyota caps and flags are much sought after by local youngsters who patiently stand in line while race stewards hand out prized possessions. Meanwhile, out on the route, Coetzee Labuskaghni and daughter Sandra in the Race Sonic Zarko were trying to make up ground on Class B leaders Keith and Andrew Maganete. Durability had also again paid off for championship leaders Jack and Sarel Oosthuizen, who were at the front of Class D in the Land Rover. Persistence had also paid off for Peter Kotze and Salomon Victor, who were leading Class E with the aging Toyota Hilux still without power steering. Behind Kotze and Victor, the two N1 4x4 Toyota Land Cruisers had both run into problems, but Louis Weichelt and Francis Boersma and Cliff Weichelt and Johan Smallberger were pressing ahead with the sort of determination that makes the Toyota 1000 Desert Race such a special event among the off-road fraternity.
As sure as the cows come home, it had to happen, and it did. The dreaded Desert Race sting in the tail struck again when runaway production car leaders Anthony Taylor and Chris Birkin broke a front drive shaft in a small donga just 12 kilometers from the finish. The special vehicles of Kali and Quinton Silval and Evan Hutchison and Donnie Stassen went past the stricken Castrol Toyota Hilux. But more important, so did the Team Ford Ranger TDCI of South African champions Chris Visser and Jaapie Badenhorst, who now led the production vehicle category. Toyota dreams had again been shattered.
The Atlas Copco bat of Johan van Staden and James Rousseau was a solid third among the specials to halt a disappointing run. Enthusiasm among the spectators was running at a high level, and a late charge took Shamir Variawa and Siegfried Rousseau to within 22 seconds of van Staden and Rousseau, while Taylor and Birkin were mobile again in the Castrol Toyota Hilux. Late problems for Hicho and Jaap de Bruin saw veterans Jannie Visser and Joks Leroux into third place in the production vehicles, with a terrific drive taking Brett Parker and Andrew van Zyl into fifth among the special vehicles. A late puncture dropped Archie Rutherford and Mike Lawrenson out of the top 5 among the specials, but they bagged a second successive Class P win in the Regent Racing Gymco.
A couple of budding Michael Jacksons were strutting their stuff, while Terence Marsh and George Smallberger were putting the finishing touches to a solid 4th place among the production vehicles. Malcolm Kok and Johan Burger moved into the top 5 overall when Hicho and Jaap de Bruin ran into late problems in their Micron XL Toyota Hilux. It was a cruel blow for the father and son team, while a late rally saw Duncan Foss and Rob Howie pick up places after what had been a miserable weekend for the pair in their Castrol Toyota Hilux.
The Cobalt racing pair of Jimmy Zaus and Stefan Kutsia finally drove around their brake problem to finish 7th overall among the special vehicles. The pair provided the crowd at a water splash near the finish with a great deal of mirth, with the youngster taking a shower in a spray thrown up by the porter.
The unfortunate Christian de Plooy and Henk Janssen van Vieren were still having trouble with trees, and the RFS BMW's damaged front suspension was not making it any easier. They dropped places late in the race to Kok and Burger and the De Bruins, but overall it had been a promising weekend for the Pretoria pair. It had been a tough weekend though for Herman and Wichard Silwald in the Silwald Racing SVR, but they stuck to their guns to salvage what could turn out to be important championship points later, while it was mission accomplished for locals Osman Sadiq and Kasim Dada, who made it to the finish in their battered Nissan Navara.
Baden Tyre Services Nissan Navara pair of Thomas Rundle and Joan Moore arrived in Botswana leading the production vehicle championship and salvaged crucial points after a final day charge through the field. Keith Dutoy and Ashley Thorne had produced much the same performance in the White Star bat, but were limping home with the right front tyre puncture. A sterling performance gave Nick Gosler and Andrew Massey their 3rd Class P podium of the season in the men's Health Zarko, while a brave performance saw Naeem Musaji see out the distance again without the services of co-driver Rehan Badanya. Jack and Sarel Oosthuizen's Class D win in the Land Rover saw them consolidate their championship lead, while the retirement of the Makanetti brothers saw Kutsia and Sandra Labuskaghni pick up points for their final day effort in Class B in the Raysonic Zarko. A brave effort saw Pit Kotze and Salomon Victor struggle for most of the way without power steering, but gave Toyota their lone category win in Class E.
For the 2nd year in a row, the Desert Race had done championship contenders Mike Whitehouse and Matthew Carlson no favours, and a myriad of drivetrain problems totally ruined their weekend. Late problems saw the two N1 4x4 Toyota Land Cruisers of Cliff Weichelt with Johan Smallberger and Louis Weichelt with Francis Boersma gradually drop out of the chase for Class D honours after what had been a promising start for both cars.
A clean run on the final day gave Swaziland crew John Thompson and Clinton McNamara a couple of Class P points, while at the tail end of the field, teenagers Jason Venter and Vincent van Alleman showed great character in finishing the Toyota 1000 Desert Race on their national championship debut.
A huge crowd had gathered at the finish at Koakwani, with a huge cheer going up as Kale and Quinton Silwell took the flag in the elegant fuel bat to score their second Toyota 1000 Desert Race victory. A cat-and-mouse game played out over 2 days with Evan Hutchison and Donnie Stassen saw the Silwells finally finish 5.5 minutes ahead of the Motorride Revo.
There was also a rousing welcome for Johan van Staden and James Rousseau, who completed the podium in the Atlas Copco bat. They were more than 12 minutes behind the winners and only 22 seconds ahead of Shamir Bariawa and Siegfried Rousseau. The podium ceremony is always a festive affair, with the crowd waiting for the champagne corks to be popped. For the Silwells, it was a case of we love it when a plan comes together.
Yeah, second one on the desert, a really fantastic feeling. Today was a waiting game. I think we stuck to our plan, didn't take too many chances and let the race come to us, and it worked out for us well today.
The final margin of over 5 minutes didn't tell the full story of the intensity of the Silwell battle with Hutchison and Stassen. Rutherford and Lawrenson were also race heroes, along with Gosler and Massey, who sneaked into the top 10.
As news of the Taylor-Birkin calamity filtered through to the finish, there was a somber mood among the Castrol Toyota team and growing excitement among the Team Ford followers. Toyota's worst fears and Ford's cup of joy were confirmed when Chris Visser and Jaapie Badenhorst crossed the line to score their first Toyota 1000 Desert Race win in dramatic fashion.
While the Ford team celebrated their moment of glory, it was difficult not to feel a pang of sympathy for Toyota. To have victory snatched away at the last minute was a hammer blow, with Anthony Taylor and Chris Birkin eventually crossing the line a tad over 8 minutes behind the Ford after dominating a 1,000-kilometre race for all but the final 12 kilometres. The Visser family's joy knew no bounds when a great performance saw Chris Visser's brother Jannie and Yorks Leroux bring the International Toyota Hilux home in third.
Yeah, yesterday was unfortunate for Anthony, but fortunate for us. I must say we had our bad luck yesterday with all the punches, and luckily today it was just faultless. No problem with the car. The car was just excellent. Just want to thank the Jaapie and I want to thank the Ford team as a whole. Yes, they put in a couple of hours last night to get the car ready for today. And yeah, I must say, just an awesome result for the team.
The unfortunate Anthony Taylor and Chris Birkin put on a brave face. The pair won the Donaldson Prologue, survived a roll to dominate day 2, and dominated the final day before the racing guards stepped in and denied them a win.
Yeah, very. I mean, we kept it clean all day, and very disappointing in the end. You know, 12 k's from the end, we lost a drive shaft in the last river crossing, and that was us done. So that's really where it all ended for us. You know, it's very disappointing because I mean it was on the cards for a win, and it would have been, I think, the first time in 10 years that Toyota would have won it.
BMW, Ford, Nissan and Toyota all claimed top 10 finishes, with the Visser Badenhorst win for Ford completing a sequence that saw the manufacturers share wins in each of the 4 events run so far this season. The ABSA Team of the Event award went to the Barberspun team, which included the Visser brothers and cousin Malcolm Koch. SA Off-Road Racing Association President Richard Schilling handed over a cheque of 5,000 Rand earmarked for the Abram Krill Children's Home to the Visser's mother.
The Team of the Event award, and we're giving it to Team Barberspun.
The next event on the ABSA Off-Road Championship calendar is the Sun City 400 in the Pilanesberg on July the 29th and 30th.
Catch all the action from this great race on SuperSport, your world of champions.